Sorry.
I was like, do you want me, because you put the JAR Foundation on?
Yeah,
Sorry. Do you want me to say Access Integrated Mental Health?
absolutely. You can put anything on there, and for sure, I totally pimp what you're doing.
All right.
Why have I quit my job? Why have I, bought a van? And why am I going to drive around the country? Well, I'm passionate about the idea that you need to be heard. And I want to stitch these stories together across the states. We're going to find the commonalities. And it's going to be really an amazing experience. And I look forward to you joining me on the JAR.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to this is the Mental Health Today, and this podcast is sponsored by the JAR Foundation, and I'm one of the directors there. And it's a foundation, really. It's a nonprofit designed to, bring some awareness to mental health. We'll try to focus a little bit on the stigma, some of the cost, access, and then one of my real passionate things about education and providing those tools. So, and also a big platform for people in the space, people somewhere on the journey of mental health, and they want to share their journey. So it's a great little short, impactful 30 minutes of conversation. And today it's Mental Health Today with Liesl Perez. Liesl, welcome.
It's nice to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Yeah, so we really look forward to hearing your story. We had a little chat offline, so I think it's going to be a fun, open conversation, and a little bit of your journey, and then what you're passionate about, and I think we got even the aha moment all wrapped up in one, Liesl. So,
Yeah.
who are you? What are you doing in the space? What's your aha moment, and what are we going to do to change the world?
Sure. Love this topic, and thank you so much for asking. So my name is Liesl Perez. I co-founded Access Integrated Mental Health with my husband 3 years ago. So right at the start of the pandemic, which, by the way, I do not recommend to anybody. It's maybe the worst idea ever.
I love it.
Yes, the longest 2 weeks of all of our lives. So I co-founded this clinic. A big part of it was actually, it started off because when my daughter was 13, she got diagnosed with ADHD and anxiety. And I was like, okay, great. So let's get started. So, when can we see you again, psychiatrist? And they were like, no, you just need to go to your primary care physician. And I said, wait, what? Like, yeah, you just go to your primary care physician, your pediatrician, and they'll give you, a prescription for Concerta, which I found out later was actually like methamphetamines. And I was like, I don't know. It sounds like a bad idea to give a 13-year-old methamphetamines. Am I wrong? And they were like, no, it's totally fine. You should totally do that.
Don't worry. There's 20 million American teenagers running around on this. It's totally fine.
Yes, exactly. And so,
Louise.
yeah, but that was it. And that was, and I was like, but what does my pediatrician know about mental health? And they were like, it doesn't matter. That's who you have. And yeah. And so 70% of the, of the antidepressants that are actually prescribed are actually prescribed by primary care physicians. And I'm not knocking primary care physicians, because I'm of the mindset that any mental health support is better than no mental health support. However, the other reality is that
messed up.
It's messed up, and only and antidepressants only work for like 40 to 60% of the people who take them, depending on which study you read. So to me, there's a lot of gaps in the entire mental health arena, especially here in Colorado where I live. And so I said, there's got to be a better way. I've got to find a better solution for my kid, right? I have to find a better solution. And well, there is no finding a better solution. Colorado ranks 43 out of 50 states for mental health care. 43. So, yeah. So
that's
I had to.
Good.
No, so it basically, this is one of my many aha moments when it came to mental health. The second one being my nervous breakdown, which we'll talk about later. But that really started me on this journey of like, there's no better way. We have to invent a better way to do this.
There is no better, right? Agree.
Yeah, there is no better way. And so that's where, I started going into, this whole realm. My husband was actually an anesthetist at Children's Hospital. He was already in the medical field. And so we had the opportunity to start this mental health clinic. And, it really dovetailed in with my passions of unlocking human power and human potential, helping my daughter get better. And then eventually, it helped me get better because I was part of the problem for a long time.
Interesting. Yeah, I think the reason the doctors get involved is just because of the way the insurance rules are and the
Yes.
back end of the system, right? And the cost allowances and everything. It's really fundamentally structurally broken.
100%. And,
Yeah.
as I'm actually the one who picks up the phone when a patient calls us or, comes in on our campaigns, and I'm the one who talks to them. And
Okay.
I'm the one who often explains to them that, because a lot of people, I had a kid a couple of weeks ago who called me, 25 years old. He's on Medicaid. He had a suicide attempt in the past, and he knew he was getting back to that level. And he said, the only thing that ever helped for me, I've been on every class of antidepressant out there. I've been on every drug out there. But I have to tell you, like, the only thing that's ever helped are the ketamine infusions. I just need to know how much it costs so I can beg my parents to pay for it, so that I don't kill myself. And I said, wait, are you on Medicaid? And he said, yeah. Well, I said, well, then you can come in for free and get Spravato, which is the nasal spray. And he was like, wait, no, say that again. And the kid couldn't, he couldn't drive. So he actually ended up taking 2 buses the first time. And then Medicaid actually paid for the rides to get
Wow.
to the clinic. And that kid is now thriving. He's actually decided that, he started talking to his parents again. He's going to move back to his home state and really start his life over again. And all because he, we got him treatment and it was affordable.
This, that actually gave me chills thinking that somebody's can't get the help they need and literally it's free and we don't know how to get that information out there.
No. And Ken, I would have moved heaven and earth to just save that one kid's life.
Yes. Yeah.
And we're treating like 10 or 14 patients a day just with these procedures, not to mention like the medication management and everything else that we do, but just the procedures alone, right? And so these people are actually, when I think about changing the world, right? And to your point, helping these people get better means that they're going to live happier lives. It means they're going to raise happier children. Means they're going to do more to help other people. And so that's why I'm in this business, because I live for those transformation moments when I see our patients, go from suicidal to, living just more productive lives. Their color comes back to they're physically different after 6 weeks.
Wow. What? And explain, I think a lot of people, or maybe, a lot of people listening to this won't know how ketamine is used or the generic version of it. Maybe you can explain a little bit what the studies show or the reality of when people take it. And because ketamine's got a bad rap. I mean, it's it's not it's not exactly I don't know. It's not the sexiest, most loving drug, but it turns out it's got a lot of use in mental health.
It does. And it's actually been around forever. It does have a bad rap. People think that, street ketamine is the same thing as what therapeutic dose of ketamine is.
Okay.
I'm going to be clear. Therapeutic dose of ketamine is like, micrograms, milligrams. The street dose is like grams. That's totally gonna mess you up.
Okay. I love that. That's gonna mess you up.
Yeah, that's not what we're doing here. There's 2 forms of ketamine that's used off-label for mental health, and the first kind is actually the ketamine infusion therapy, and that's where they'll actually put ketamine in an IV bag, and you'll kick back for 2 to 3 hours, while you're getting your infusion. The second kind is actually far more accessible. It is created by Janssen, which is a Johnson & Johnson company. It is a nasal spray. And same thing, you take the nasal spray, you kick back in one of my zero gravity chairs for 2 hours with a fuzzy blanket and some noise canceling headsets and great music. And you may or may not have a dissociative experience, but it's been very, very productive. The reason that it works, the reason that this works is actually fascinating. So the old model of depression was based on serotonin, right? Like, oh, your neurotransmitters, there's not enough of them. We're just going to flood your brain with serotonin. You'll be fine, and your brain will start communicating again. Okay. Ketamine works actually on a completely different system. Unlike antidepressants, which only work when they're in your system, ketamine works after it leaves your system. And basically what happens is let's just say that you smell smoke, right? The emotional side of your brain and those synapses are going to be like, oh my God, there's smoke, panic, 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 panic. Yeah, we got to save ourselves, right? The logical side normally in a normal brain will say, that is a barbecue. We are fine. Calm yourself down and it'll be fine. You will not have a cortisol response that will get elevated. You will just be fine. You won't be in panic mode. In a depressed brain, those connections are not actually communicating. And so what they've seen ketamine do is after a brain is exposed to ketamine is they've actually started seeing synapses regrow.
Oh, really? They start to connect.
So yes, there's synaptogenesis that happens. And also there's a lot of synapses that might have actually been silenced because of trauma, because of, too much cortisol, like too much stress, because you work too much. That was me, by the way. It could be because you have the wrong diet, and you're not, eating the wrong things, and so you damage your synapses, and so that over time, those synapses stop communicating, and you become more and more depressed, right? And yeah, so with ketamine, we're seeing people like within hours of actually getting the ketamine treatment, the antidepressant effects are already evident, and then after a month, they're doing much, much better. And then after that, if you're on Spravato, you come in once a month for the treatment, and then we can taper off to like once every 2 weeks, once every 3 weeks. You can do once a month, but like once every 3 weeks seems to be the better cadence.
Yeah, 1 month might be too far.
Yeah.
So it sounds like it's similar to me to some of the psilocybin treatments. Or psilocybin, how is it different, or how is it the same?
Yeah.
I guess maybe it's a better way, or is it at all?
Yeah, I'm surprised actually at how much I don't like psilocybin, because I have no moral, panics about anybody doing drugs. I'm like, okay, live your best life, whatever, but please don't get addicted. The problem I have with psilocybins is not, I think at some point psilocybins are going to be great. The issue is that they haven't done enough research on it. The other thing that's problematic with psilocybins is that it lasts like 8 hours. So if you're having a bad trip, you're going to be having a bad trip for 8 hours, and it's like nobody wants that, right?
Amen.
Yeah, the half-life of ketamine is much, much shorter than that. Usually it's like 45 minutes. It's easy to get people out of it. Yeah, so it's a little bit. It's the safety profile. It's been FDA approved for 20 years. But the reason that for anesthetic as an anesthetic, the reason it'll never get a secondary indication for depression is that it costs like hundreds of millions of dollars to get a secondary indication for a drug that's already FDA approved. Also, because it's been around for 20 years, it's a generic.
It's lost its I forget what you call it. Commit with the money. You're not making money.
Yeah, you're not going to make money off of it. So why would anybody invest hundreds of millions of dollars to try to get a secondary indication for a generic drug? Like no one's going to do that.
Maybe because it's really good for people's mental health, and that will save more money in the long run.
So Janssen did something really and hats off to Janssen for figuring this out, right? I'm not going to knock this hustle, because they decided that they can't get the drug, approved for secondary indication. So they got the packaging patented. So the nasal spray is what they actually got approved for FDA through the FDA process. Well, and so
when you were sitting in the chair, 1 week approving stuff, and the next week designing it, you can just come up with anything and it'll work.
Right. Yeah. So that's why there's such a great but Janssen, I again, hats off to the people who invented Spravato.
Yeah, that's a hustle. That's a hustle. I got respect for that.
Yeah, I do too. And honestly, if I didn't see so many people recovering from it and seeing people really live better, happier lives, I'd be a little bit more concerned. But psilocybins don't have that level of research. Also, okay, have you ever had a shishito pepper?
Yes.
You know what it is? Okay. You know how 1 in 10 are spicy?
Yeah, it's a weird thing.
Right. Okay.
And
mushrooms are like that. Tell me which one the spicy one is. You just don't know.
I'll tell you in 2 hours.
Right. That's why I'm like, yeah, you can do psilocybins. It's probably not going to be as effective or safe or just easy to control as ketamine. And so I'm kind of more of a fan of ketamine than
Can I take, like, what about like somebody like me? Can I rock up and take a session just for my own mental health, or is it something that you should really be trying to work on
So we're an integrative mental health clinic, and so that means that we're looking at more than just the meds you're taking. In fact, our motto is mental health is more than meds, and it's really true. You can do a lot of things like meditation, journaling, vitamin supplementation can be huge. It could be a lot of different things. Therapy is a big part of our treatment as well. You can do ketamine infusions. Actually without having tried any other antidepressants. But for everyone out there who's tried every other antidepressant in the world and it hasn't worked, most insurance companies will cover Spravato if you've failed 2 other antidepressants.
Very good information.
Yes, unless you happen to be the one insurance company, which I'm not going to mention, but anyone can DM me on LinkedIn if they want. I'll tell them. That one company actually makes you fail 4 different classes of antidepressants before they'll cover the treatment. So that's a lot of suffering.
4 different classes.
Yes, wow. And that's a lot of suffering, I think, for people, and I don't particularly like that. But yeah, no, you can actually
think of the drug sales, though.
Yeah, exactly. But no, I don't think people should wait to get help. Honestly, if you're suffering from burnout, if you're suffering from, depression, you don't want to go through failing all of these antidepressants. I suggest that, you go to a clinic and ask them for, because you can get an infusion without having to have that entire history, especially if you're paying out of pocket. Yeah. And it was helpful for me personally.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've done psilocybin, and I think, I think reflecting back and reading what people wrote about their experiences and the impact on them, and the mindfulness and, the net of it, definitely a great experience. And I do feel like the connections you make and seeing yourself spiritually and where you sit in the universe and all that cool stuff that happens on a magical mushroom journey. If you can achieve the same results without all that other nonsense, and the risk, like you said, the risk of, you never know what you're eating. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Honestly.
And that's what we're doing. We're also doing ketamine assisted psychotherapy. So we'll actually add a therapy component to the second hour of your infusion or your Spravato treatment. Ooh. So you can actually work with a therapist to integrate what you're experiencing, and while your baby neurons are regrowing.
Your baby, your sparks are flying, and and then you get to share with the therapist your experience and kind of poke around the edges.
Yeah, exactly. And take that into your longer term therapeutic process.
Yeah, right.
Mm-hmm. So
fascinating. How did you meet? So how long have you been doing this? Remind me again.
So my clinic's been open for 3 years.
That's right. Okay, that's right. Yeah, COVID. So you're already speaking like a 20-year veteran of the business.
Yeah, the funny part is I'm not a clinician. I'm not a psychiatrist. Right. I employ psychiatrists. I employ therapists. But it's funny because I didn't really want to get full time into the business until recently. Because first of all, let's just take a moment for my husband here, who has to work with me every day now. That's working between spouses in the same place and living together can be challenging, but actually
goodness gracious, God bless them.
Yeah. We make it work. And it's working beautifully. But a big part of this is, again, my interest has always been in unlocking human potential. And what I add to this clinic is actually, I was a patient. And I didn't realize that I was going to be a patient. After working 22 years in the corporate world, I just assumed that like everybody had a mental illness, and that's normal. And like if you didn't, then there's something wrong with you.
You weren't trying hard enough.
That's called culture. Yes, in any organization.
Oh man, we could talk about
So,
corporate for a few hours, I'm sure.
oh yes, 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 yes. And so, it was a journey there. But I, you know, having been a patient, having had, the depression, which I didn't know I was depressed at the time. This is the funny part about depression. You just feel like everybody else is driving on the wrong side of the road and you can't understand why. And recovering from depression is like learning how to drive again on the right side of the road.
So what happened for you? What was the, is it like a business trip and you just lost your shit in the
No,
airport or just at home
no,
one day and
no. I think it's a lot of people have this experience actually. I mean, for me, what happened was, my boss, who was actually one of my best friends, she died, sort of unexpectedly, at the, ripe old age of 42. And,
goodness.
um, yeah, and none of us were ready for it. I wasn't ready for it, and it completely rocked my world. And I just, and we worked together, so I had to switch companies. I'd been at the company for
I,
9 years, and then
yeah.
so I was like, fine, I'm gonna go take a recovery job because this sucks, and I need to get my brain together. So I like willingly gave up managing like 23 people and was like, I'm gonna go take a small job with like 4 people. It's gonna be really easy. I walked in on the first day of that job, and I had 67 people in my organization. I had never agreed to this. If I had known, I would have asked for way more money than I actually negotiated, and it was sort of. But this is what happens in corporate America. It's like, well,
You
we're just
must have
gonna.
interviewed really well.
Yeah, I guess I did, but and so so okay, fine, 67 people, whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever. I'm just gonna do it because that's
467, same.
sure, whatever. It's gonna be fine. I'm gonna manage it. I'm good at what I do. I'll manage it. And then COVID happened. So I started in January 2020. COVID happened in like February, March.
Yeah, March, yeah, February.
Um,
Yeah.
okay, and I was working for a publicly traded company, and I was responsible for all internal and external communications during COVID, for 50,000 employees. So, around the world. So it
No
was day and
pressure.
night, no
Yeah.
pressure, day and night,
She's
working
easy.
6 a.m. call every morning, 9 p.m. call every night, 7 days a week. That just went on for months. Then, like, when COVID, we kind of got COVID under control. Then, like, um, George Floyd happened, responsible for all the communications on that. I mean, it was just a lot. Let's just put it that way. And so by the end of that year, and then I had 4 kids at home because of pandemic, all going to different schools. Then we started this clinic. We sank all of our money into starting this clinic, which was my dream. My dream was to have a BIPOC clinic, to help people of all, races and colors. But, doing all of that in the same year was just maybe not the best idea. Just gonna go with that. And yeah, so by the end of that year, I was completely burned. I mean, I literally had a complete nervous breakdown. It wasn't that I lost my shit or anything like that. It was just, you know, um, super irritated with the entire world, irritated with my kids, irritated with my spouse, irritated with work, irritated. There was no point in my life at that point that there was any point where I was not irritated. It was just, and to me, that didn't seem like I was depressed. To me, that was just like, no, you're all screwing up. I'm the only one who's keeping it together, and you're the ones who are messing up. Yeah,
Uh,
true story.
oh God.
Yes.
How does it, looking back, you're out of corporate now.
Hmm.
Yeah. Boy, that was a look. I mean, boy, that had like that's a great feeling. I also am out of corporate and it's an
Yeah,
amazing feeling.
it is. It
You have
is.
the look about you. You have the smile now of someone who's not bound like a slave in the corporate world.
Hmm.
So you are really living the passion. How's your daughter doing now?
She is doing great. I am so glad, I mean, and by the way, just because I happen to own a mental health clinic does not mean I have this mental health thing on lockdown. Like
Oh
I
yeah, no,
do,
that's what I mean. Like it's
I do not. I'm still struggling with the whole parenting thing and, dealing with all of that. But no, she is doing amazing. She's going to see you Boulder next year. And she is thriving, thriving. And so that's what I want to see. And I like seeing that for everyone that we help, it's seeing people thrive and seeing them achieve things that they didn't think they could because they have gotten so used to being depressed.
Yeah, and that's got to be kind of weird. Now you've got your story of not knowing it was you, and so it must be interesting when you see patients who are maybe getting referred or not really sure it's them. Do you still see that? Do you see you and other people?
I do. And that's one of the reasons I do what I do, and the thing is, I've recovered. And as I've seen people recover, I say, you are now a lighthouse for so many people.
So it's a responsibility now, right? Like you have a job now.
Yeah, you have to help others. And I mean,
Yes.
people cry in my treatment rooms and they come out of it. They're like, that was a major breakthrough. And I said, and they need a hug, right? And, we live in a society because I don't really know why it's this way, but for whatever reason, like doctors can't hug patients. Or they can't provide that, storytelling. They can't care about them outside of their treatment room, right? Which I think is actually kind of wrong, because you're telling me that somebody has to bare their soul and all of their secrets and all of their stuff and they can only recover in a treatment room. It's not what they're doing in the treatment room that matters. It's what they're doing outside of the treatment room that matters.
It's so well said.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm giving people hugs at the end of their treatment when they've had a major breakthrough. And they're just like, they thank us for founding this clinic. And I said, I don't want you to thank me. I want you to someday do this for someone else.
Bring somebody in.
Yeah.
Save somebody.
Yeah. Yeah. And that just makes it so profound for them because everyone knows they're going to do that someday. They don't know when, but that makes the journey that much more powerful for them.
Man. Yeah, it's tough knowing, we'll lose people along the way, right? And it's so close. There are things, it just kind of crushes me too. I'm just thinking about one guest that ended up living in Colorado, and he's passed away.
Oh my gosh.
It's one of my first guests.
No,
it's tough news to get. And there are so many people out there like Steve, just living in pain, see it on his face, hear it in his voice. And, I think what you're doing is amazing. Just you burned your boats, right? I mean, you burned your boats and you jumped, like this is all you got, right?
This is it. This is all I want to do. I mean, I don't know if I could ever, and I still consult every now and then for people I like, but I've gotten super choosy now about, the kind of energy I want around me. And, but, it's interesting. You just said your friend's name, Steve, your guest. And, one of the reasons I also have my clinic, art therapy was a big part of my,
I love it.
Yeah, just getting over my grief of losing Peggy. That was my person I lost. Damn. And I put her painting in one of the treatment rooms, and it's actually it's a painting of her name in Chinese, but it's very abstract, so people don't realize that that's what it is.
That's an energy she's left behind. Her name on Chinese, and that's like leaving your energy there.
Yeah, well, the patients actually have commented on it, and a lot of them don't know what it is, and but they want to be in that room. They want to be in the Peggy room.
I was going to say, they
and
something.
She has, and so because I didn't want that name to ever be out of my life. So the Peggy room is the way that I keep her memory alive, and this clinic is the way that I keep her energy in my life.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's tough. I think it's the communication, getting more people aware of what's available and how to get access to it. And boy, that story about the boy, I mean, imagine how many thousands of kids there are right now.
Yes.
Wishing they could get what they need and probably filling that hole with some other way.
I got to tell you that the early 20, mid 20 kids right now are the ones I worry about the most, because their early adulthoods were so, just so disruptive, when they were
Yeah.
just trying to get out there, and they're just not leaving their rooms. And it's
We weren't really good leaders there for those 2 weeks.
yeah, no, yeah, the longest 2 weeks of our lives. No,
Yeah.
exactly. But the 20-year-olds are the ones that I'm seeing a lot of, that are just, they just don't even know how to live, and they're in between being adults and kids, but not like teenagers. Like
They missed some teen years.
yeah, and
Yeah.
they don't know how to get out there now, and it's a completely different world, and we don't have a manual for them either, and so they're just very depressed, and it's these are kids who should be like in the prime of their lives, going out there.
Should be thriving, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I think they'll come, obviously they'll get over part of it, but it won't be healed, right? I mean, they'll move on, but they'll have to come back at some point and do the work, right? They'll have to come
Yeah.
back and deal with what happened to them.
Yeah.
And, putting masks on and staying in your room and,
Yes.
not seeing your friends.
Yes.
And the weird shit kids would do when they're in this kind of environment in chat rooms. I can't
Yeah.
imagine the kind of nonsense that they were up to.
Yeah.
Um,
It's a lot. I really, I mean, everybody suffered, it's just, we're just trying to help whoever, however many people we can get the mental health care they need affordably, and not have to go into debt just to exist,
to exist.
Yeah.
It's already 30 minutes. I can't, wow. Fantastic stuff you're doing, Liesl.
Thank you.
Really, I just, wow. I love meeting somebody else that's just burned their boats and put everything into this, and you found your kind of your purpose.
Yeah. Well, likewise.
You're living your purpose.
Likewise, it's I'm happy to meet you, and I'm happy to be on the show. And again, I'm happy to help anybody who maybe suffering the same thing, or may need help for themselves or their loved ones. We're here for that.
Well, I'm coming to Colorado. Maybe we'll sit down.
Come visit.
Maybe we'll do a jar episode.
I would love it.
The other one, and we'll do it in the not Nancy. The girls' room.
Oh, Peggy's room.
Peggy's room. Yeah.
Yes, we can do it in Peggy's room. We can actually do some ketamine assisted psychotherapy for you if you want to check it out and see what the experience is like. It's very cool.
I'm a fan of it. And you talk about the synopsis. I think one of the best mental health things I did, and I could actually feel my brain rewiring, was playing guitar.
Yes. Neural pathways. You're creating that neuroplasticity.
It was the weirdest feeling in my brain. I'd never felt that. Strumming for me was the first, I must have been really I would say retarded, meaning they must have really backed away from each other, right? They were slow, shrinking pretty badly, because even strumming the guitar, I could feel the pain, and switching hands, doing a rhythm on this side and on this side, and counting, and whoa, what's happening? My brain was just kind of swimming, and I could feel stuff happening. And then it got to a certain point, and then I started to sing. And it feels like you are walking and chewing bubblegum and juggling backwards on a tricycle or a unicycle. I was like, I am absolutely can't even do this. This is the dumbest thing. I could even sing, I don't know, a lullaby. But after a while, it builds and builds and builds. And, now I have a different brain.
Yes.
And if this is what ketamine, it's amazing.
Well, let me leave you with this thought, okay?
Yeah, that's some good closing thought. How about some closing thoughts?
The closing thought I have is that just think about how many synapses you created because you started practicing a new skill.
Yes.
Right? Now imagine if, instead of thinking negative thoughts every day about how everybody else is driving on the wrong side of the road, you started thinking about something more positive, about how beautiful everyone's car is.
Yeah.
Imagine how much bigger those synapses would be, and the communication pathways would be for that.
And it's kind of an interesting thought. The energy becomes very powerful and I would have a feeling that, positive energy vibes move differently than negative energy. And if you flip that switch, that's powerful thought.
Yeah, that's what you can do if you get the
Yeah.
right help.
It's all about, this is that finding the things we're trying, that at least I've zeroed, excuse me, I've zeroed in early on for the foundation is access, cost, stigma,
Yes.
and the education. I'm not a clinician, I'm not in the space, but those are things that I think, I can help with in other ways. My other life experience can be brought to bear and solve, help fix it. I can't solve anything, but I can help at least improve stuff.
You can at least get other people started. We can't do it by ourselves, Ken, but we can get
Yes.
other people helping us, and because they have experienced the same things and have recovered from it, then we can get everybody else. We can get a movement started on that. I really believe that.
I love it. I'm a fan of like big stuff. I'm not a small thinker. I like to think big and fail large.
Yes, fail faster and succeed faster, right? That's what we should be doing.
We used to have a motto in the insurance industry when we would recruit people, which was fail the failure fast. And if they're going to fail, is to get them out quickly. And it was such a wrong thing for so long. And I eventually did kind of come around to the right way of thinking. But it is the way to do it is try big, something big, and fail.
Yes.
It's okay to do it quickly, learn the quick lesson, go back at it, try again. And eventually you're going to find the right path. Yeah, you're kind of building a synopsis, right? You build something, you go certain, and you get too much resistance. You back up, you smash into another lane. That maybe work, and you keep smashing until you find a weak spot and you break through.
Absolutely. Well, and I think what we found is mental health is really the weak spot. If we can get more people feeling better, and we can all heal together as a society.
Yeah, and then even the physical ailments that come out of this because we're not mentally well, and the financial impact is the opportunity to save money by investing in mental health is a real thing.
Yes, it's absolutely true. I mean, that's the thing that like I end up spending a lot of time. People when they call into my clinic, they're not asking about depression. They're not asking about their conditions. They're asking about whether they can afford it, and that's just tragic to me. Because you shouldn't need to worry about, if you have something wrong with you, you should be able to get help for it.
Especially if you found what you think is a solution.
Yeah. Well, absolutely.
Painful.
And a lot of clinics won't actually do Spravato because the paperwork for it is so arduous. And literally I had my office manager yesterday, she was on the phone for 3 hours for one patient because they denied the prior authorization that they had already authorized because they couldn't find it. It was just like something simple as that. But a lot of people won't deal with all of the paperwork that they have to go through in order to get people covered for a life-changing treatment like Spravato. So
again, fantastic work, Liesl. Thanks so much for being a guest. I mean, just awesome stuff. How can people find you? How can they find what you're doing? How can they help?
Yeah, they can just go to our website. I actually have a lot of patient resources, and it's axismh.com, axismh.com.
Hold on, let me get that. Give it to me one more time. How to spell?
axismh.com.
Okay.
And the blog actually has a lot of great resources for people who are interested in ketamine therapy. There's a lot of great ways to prepare for it. I actually have playlists on Spotify for ketamine music. A lot of our patients download it when they're
cool.
Yeah, when they're not in the treatment rooms, they actually like to listen to it to if they're having a bad day.
Yeah, and make the connection, right? But they'll remember.
Yeah, exactly. I have a lot of patients who tell me, because we actually have high chew candies in the treatment rooms, because sometimes the Spravato can be a little bit bitter. And a patient came in the other day and said, "I just bought 8 pounds of high chews from Amazon because that's my go-to relaxation now."
Makes it good, right? When I'm having a high chew, I've got a ketamine ball.
I'm relaxed.
I there's a lot to be said for that stuff. Connection, smells, and tastes are powerful memory. Powerful memory triggers.
Yes, we have diffusers the same patient also had bought lavender diffusers and salt lamps for his bedroom, because we have lavender diffusers to kind of, again, scent. Lavender is very relaxing and calming, easy to access. I have other ones that I like, but like that one is easy to get for everybody.
Lavender's great.
Yeah. And salt lamps, because that's what's in the treatment rooms, and that's what they, now when they're having a bad days, that's how they, again, it's what they do outside of the treatment room that matters, not just what they're doing.
Well, that's a beautiful.
Yeah.
So thanks again so much. Thanks everybody thanks for everybody for listening. We don't have not too many eyeballs on us, but we do get, we'll get some listeners on the actual iTunes podcast and stuff we'll produce in maybe a couple weeks.
Fantastic.
We'll get that live. You can share that. And this one will be on LinkedIn and somewhere buried in Facebook a little bit, and also on YouTube.
Thank you.
There. Yeah.
This was a pleasure.
Yeah. Thanks so much. Hang on for a minute. We'll run our little exit commercial, and then I'll see you on the other side.
Okay.
Yeah, loose, baby.
We're about to go and make this vessel with these great professionals at Public Glass. We're not part of the community, but we're from the outer family of glassblowing. Yeah, we're going to go make a magical giant jar with optic lenses so that if you turn it, it changes all the time. So if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change.